Opening day was awesome, unless you have Paul Skenes. We'll talk about all of it up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in polka. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aarondola. Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosuzuka.
Carlo and Fado, value so high, but ADP so low. Frank Clubs, hit some kind of Joe. Now let's get on with the show.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on March 27th, the happiest of Kokomo Fridays. Opening day is in the books. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. What a fun day. Now it's time to overreact. Rookies were awesome. Paul Skenes stinks. We have bullpens to talk about. Everything in between. And I will start with an overreaction of my own. This will be a legendary rookie class.
The year of the rookie.
I mean, what a day.
I mean,
What a day.
the thing is, yeah, all these guys who had their major league debut, 3 different guys homered in their major league debut. I think we can say it's 4. I know Chase DeLauder played in some postseason games. We usually don't count postseason stuff for record-keeping purposes. So 4 players homered in their major league debut today. And Kevin McGonigal didn't, but he went 4 for 5. That's really cool.
Which I think that was that's even rare, getting 4 hits in your debut.
But the other thing I want to point out is Nolan McLean's still a rookie.
Yeah.
Like
Connor Griffin is not here yet.
Connor Griffin's not here yet. Sal Stewart is still a rookie, even though
he had a big game
last
too.
Season. He had a very good game as well. Yeah. This is a
banner rookie year.
Yeah, it might be.
I've been saying it. I've been writing it. It is a loaded rookie class, and that's why, I've gotten in trouble before, particularly in some of the 15-team industry leagues, loading up on too many rookies.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I wasn't reaching for them, and I didn't feel compelled to reach for them because it's like that's too many guys to reach for. But I didn't mind if I ended up with 4 or 5 of them, because I think I think things had kind of bottlenecked in the minors, and now it's broken free, and we're getting the deluge of talent that is overripe, ready to make a big impact.
And pretty cool. Kevin McGonigal started at third base. 20% of the way. And gaining eligibility at the weakest position.
We can use third base help. So
let's not overlook Nathan Church. Another big day for a rookie.
Sure.
He's on the rundown. I've got him on here. Let's start up top with some of the big name outfielders here. And specifically because earlier today we learned Jackson Chourio has a fractured hand. Chris and I did an emergency podcast for that, so go back and listen. But Carson Benj and Chase DeLauder are 2 names in shallower leagues that could still be out there. So if you are looking for a Jackson Chourio replacement, they make a ton of sense. Carson Benj, 1 for 3 with a sock and a shoe. The first sock and a shoe of the season goes to a rookie, and it was an awesome game for him. Also had 2 walks. He's 76% rostered on CBS. Chase DeLauder still playing, but so far 2 for 4 with a home run for him as well. And he hit the home run off Logan Gilbert, one of the best pitchers in baseball. So pretty impressive for him, especially coming off the spring training that he just had. Scott, who do you prefer between the 2, Carson Benj and Chase DeLauder?
I prefer Benj because of 3 reasons. Reason 1, he does not have a extensive injury history the way Chase DeLauder does.
Chase DeLauder's injury history is like a CVS receipt.
Reason 2, I think he's going to be on base more in general. I think DeLauder will be on base a good amount too, but it'll be more batting average driven. Benj is going to walk more, I would think. And reason 3, probably even bigger than reason 2. There's an element of speed there we saw with the sock and the shoe that doesn't exist for DeLauder. So I would say Benj over DeLauder, but I'm excited about both. I have a lot of shares of both. I would be willing to look into both, even in 3 outfielder leagues.
Do you think both will play against both lefties and righties right away, or how do you think playing time works out for either?
That is my suspicion. I guess it might be a little more certain for DeLauder than for Binge. So I guess that's a point more in DeLauder's favor. They do,
But
the Mets do have Tyrone Taylor.
Yeah.
That
and
they
Mike
could
Hoffman,
use.
right? No, he's on the IL.
Yeah,
And he's a left-handed batter himself anyway.
The one thing I will say about DeLauder, though, I have to imagine the Guardians are going to give him a lot of time off. That would be the
maybe.
biggest concern. It might not be a strict platoon, but I think we're going to see a lot of days off, at least until and unless he proves himself just
Too good
that he needs to be in the lineup every single day, no matter what. But I would guess they're going to be careful with him early on, at least.
Mm-hmm. The shortstops, we mentioned what they did here as well. Kevin McGonigal, 4 for 5 with 2 doubles, 2 runs, 2 RBI, one of the doubles, 105.9 exit velocity. JJ Weatherholt hit a home run in his second at bat, 101.7 exit velocity, 425 feet to straightaway center field for JJ Weatherholt. Chris, you mentioned McGonigal, 1 game at third, Weatherholt 1 game at second. So it's good news all around for us because 2 positions that we needed help at coming into the season.
Yeah, and I think it's possible Weatherholt and McGonigal might be top 12 guys at those positions as soon as they're eligible. So that matters quite a bit. The Weatherholt home run, I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a freaking bomb. Like it was.
It didn't even look like he got all of it, right? It just kind of feel like he flicked it out there and he just. It's just going.
You know, watching spring training, watching the WBC, it's too early. The ball feels a little bouncy right now.
425 feet on a ball hit less than 102 miles per hour. Am I reading this right for Weatherholt?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
start the conspiracy theory theorizing. Let's do it.
That ball was also like 4 inches outside. And he crushed it to center, 425 to dead center. That was very impressive. This is a really impressive group of young players. There are more to talk about. I will say maybe the most impressive thing about Kevin McGonigal's day was he had an infield single that he beat out, and he hit 30.2 feet per second on that run. That is elite sprint speed. So that, I obviously knew he was fast, but it's one of those things where is he fast or is he blazing fast? I think he only stole 10 bases last season, but that kind of sprint speed is a sign that there's real speed here too.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Munetaka Murakami, who went 1 for 2 with 2 walks and his first career home run, 103 exit velocity, 384 feet. I thought it was encouraging that in a game against Jacob Misiorowski, we heard all this talk all off season about how Murakami struggles with velocity. No strikeouts against Misiorowski today. So I thought that was at least a little encouraging there for Munetaka Murakami. The other outfield prospect, Justin Crawford, he went 2 for 4 with a run scored. Just a measly 2 for 4. No homers, no steals, but batting ninth in his
Get it together.
75% rostered for Crawford. Scott, would you rank Crawford behind the other 2, Carson Benj and Chase DeLauder?
I think in Roto, I'd have to put him ahead of DeLauder because he's going to be a standout in stolen bases, you would expect. Points, I'd give DeLauder the edge over Crawford.
Mm-hmm. And then my guy, Sal Stewart, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles. Yahoo! 2 of his hits came off Garrett Crochet. The double off Garrett Crochet.
What's the thing there?
So that is, he looks exactly like Super Mario.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got the red cap. He's got the mustache. Okay. Just all we got to do is get him some overalls, and he's just.
All right. No, I wasn't. I was looking for an explanation. Yeah.
I think I brought it up on, I don't know, one of the episodes where we were talking about him. But yeah, I'm gonna work it in a little bit more because obviously we need a soundbite for Sal Stewart, my guy. The double off Crochet, 109 exit velocity. Something to watch here. He also took a line drive off of his wrist while playing defense. I think it was 110 miles per hour exit velocity off of Roman Anthony's bat. And it looked really bad in slow motion. And he came out, trainer looked at him, said, nothing feels broken. And then after the game, he said he's all right. We'll see how he responds the next couple days. But hopefully we avoided anything there because, Sal Stewart only one game. But to go 3 for 4, 2 of those hits off Crochet, it's pretty impressive.
That was good to see. I think across the board with these guys, it was all very, very positive first games. There will certainly be some growing pains at times, but can't ask for much more than what we got out of these rookies. So
it was a little too perfect. Like we were supposed to be angry at one of these guys for buying into the hype. That's supposed to happen. And like they gave us no reason to be. So I'm a little disappointed that I can't get angry yet.
He's discouraged that he can't be discouraged.
No matter what.
Isn't
Scott's
that
never
so
happy.
2026?
He's never happy.
Just everyone's always looking for reasons to be mad,
The reason to be mad is I don't have a reason to be mad.
I'm interested to see if Sal Stewart bats cleanup against right-handed pitching as well. Obviously going up against Crochet here, lefty, righty against the lefty. So we'll see where he bats in the lineup against a right-handed pitcher. Very interested to see that from Sal Stewart. But awesome historic day here on opening day for the rookie bats. Let's take our first break. When we return, oh my goodness gracious, the players of the night. We'll talk about that right after this.
You need a hug?
You need a fist?
Crutch, crutch, crutch.
Crutch, crutch.
Crutch, you need anything.
I do have one question.
We didn't mean right now.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. All right, now it's time. Let's jump in. Oh my goodness gracious, player of the night.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Welcome back, Susan.
That's right. Okay, let's start with Scott, player of the night.
All right. Well, he actually did not play at night. He played in the afternoon. He played in one of the first games of the day, Jacob Misiorowski. He pitched 5 innings, 1 earned run, just 2 hits allowed, 11 strikeouts. That's the number everybody appreciates. 11 strikeouts, 25 swinging strikes, which is a ton. 19 on the fastball. He's got a great fastball. It was a great start. We've seen starts like this from Jacob Misiorowski before, so it's not that surprising. Now here's something you have to get used to if you're new to the podcast this year. Here's where I flip it all around and say, yes, it was great, but, and this will be a theme, if something happens, if the thing that just happens, I'm going to tell you the antithesis of what just happened, because that's what makes it worth talking about, right? If what happened is exactly what's always supposed to happen, why talk about it? Okay? You with me? Okay. This will happen sometimes for Misiorowski, but there will be another side of the coin. And I think that other side of the coin will leave him with an ERA and whip that you don't like very much. That's why I had him as a bust coming into the year, not because I didn't think he could ever get double-digit strikeouts. And you saw it in this start, the downside risk. In those 5 innings, he walked 3. He didn't even throw 61% of his pitches for strikes. So we don't see growth in the areas he needs to grow in, which doesn't mean it couldn't happen. It's just one start. But it was one start that continued the trend from last year and really his entire career, going back to the minors, where he walked more than 5 per 9. So there's no indication from this start that there aren't still major control issues for Misiorowski. But he's got a great fastball. He's going to have starts where he gets a ton of strikeouts sometimes. I'm just saying. Don't get too comfortable. I still think there's real ERA and whip risk here.
Can I serve as the audience stand-in?
Sure.
For my response? Boo! Boo! Hiss! Hiss! Boo! Boo!
Yeah.
Boo. That wasn't me. That was the audience.
What we need to say and overreact to, obviously, after opening day, is that we were way too low on Jacob Misiorowski, Scott. That is the answer that everybody is looking for.
That's what they're looking for, but I don't want to lie just to make them feel better. Want to tell the truth.
Remains to be seen, but obviously, look, 25 swinging strikes is 25 swinging strikes against whoever you do it against. The White Sox are going to strike out a lot this year, but it was very impressive, the whiffs that Misiorowski was able to gain in this start. I do agree. I think
19 on the four-seamer.
Yeah, it's just banana stuff. He needs to be more efficient. I was actually surprised that with 82 pitches, the Brewers let him come back out for the fifth inning, but they wanted to get him that win. They had the big run support there, and he got up to 94 pitches. That was the second most ever in a major league game for Misiorowski. So, they're it's one start, but they're kind of treating him like not an ace, but kind of ace workload, letting him go those 94 pitches early on. So, overall, great start. Let's see if he could build on the control there for Misiorowski. Chris,
would you like to know how many pitchers had a start with more than 19 whiffs on their four-seamer last season?
2. 0. 1.
Would you like to know the last time a pitcher had 19 whiffs on their four-seamer in a single start?
Jacob deGrom 7 years ago.
Jacob deGrom did it in 2021, but that is not the most recent one. The most recent one was Luis Castillo in 2023. It has happened 6 times in the last 5 seasons prior to today with Jacob Misiorowski. That's pretty impressive. I will say Cole Irvin was somehow one of them. I'm not sure how that happened. Eric Lauer actually has the most whiffs with a four-seamer in one start over the past 5 years. So this is not a guarantee that this player will be a great pitcher, but I don't know.
He has a great fastball that he misses.
Yeah, Misiorowski's
Yeah,
he's awesome. It's just a question of whether he can be consistent enough, but the upside is huge here.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chris, let's go over to you. Your player of the night.
It's Victory Lap City population, me and my friend Michael Trout, who went 1 for 2 with 3 walks, a home run, and a stolen base. Around these parts, we call that a sock and a shoe. And I said on yesterday's podcast that we're going to get a bounce back season for Mike Trout. That was kind of one of my fake bold predictions, but still, I'm counting it. We're putting it on the scoreboard. And I don't know. He's feeling good. He's playing center field again. He says his knees feel better than they did the last couple of seasons. I think there is a chance that we get not a vintage Mike Trout season, because I don't think he's going to be the best player in baseball, but a very, very good season out of Mike Trout. I think that possibility was being slept on a little too much this spring. So good first day of the Mike Trout bounce back campaign.
And did you see what he said after the game? I actually have it loaded up here.
I did not.
I'm thinking I'm back.
Yeah.
From his words, not mine.
I've never known him to be so emotive.
Only when he's talking about weather. It's the only time he gets that excited.
Yeah.
What he actually said after the game is, quote, "I felt like myself out there again, being in center and stealing bags." And the one thing that did catch my eye, and you brought this up yesterday, Chris, throughout spring training, was his sprint speed being up and the fact that he's 1 year further removed from all those knee injuries that he's dealt with. And, just the ability to be healthy and, run at full speed again. I mean, obviously that could be a pretty massive thing here for Mike Trout. So it's great first game. He looked like himself. He was just completely dominating, going up against one of the best pitchers in baseball in Hunter Brown. I don't believe that's who he homered off of, but he did draw like 3 walks against Hunter Brown. So overall, impressive day. We need him to stay healthy. That's the other part of it too, but looks healthy for now. That's my
And the thing about Mike Trout this year is he was so cheap that it doesn't really matter if he stays healthy or not. Like, if you get 80 good games out of Mike Trout, that's a great pick. So I hope he stays healthy. I'm certainly rooting for it, but the obvious rejoinder that people would usually throw out here of, oh, he's going to get hurt, is like, I don't care. He was like the 190th pick in a lot of drafts. I really don't care if Mike Trout gets hurt or not this year. It's Byron Buxton last year. It's all upside this year.
Let's see. the last week of drafts, Mike Trout's NFBC ADP was 182. So that was pretty late. Let's talk about his teammate, who was my player of the night, Jose Soriano. He looked really good at the Astros here. 6 shutout innings, 2 hits, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, 19 whiffs on 91 pitches. That is a 21% swinging strike rate. 8 of those came on the curve, 7 on the sinker, 2 on the fastball, 2 on the splitter. Velocity up across the board. He averaged 98 on the sinker, 99.1 on his fastball. The curve was up 1.5 miles. Slider was up 2.4 miles per hour. And he tweaked the pitch mix as well. He wasn't as sinker reliant. He mixed in more 4-seam fastballs. So it was usually it's like a 2-pitch pitcher. It's sinker, curveball. Today he was 3-pitch. It was sinker, curveball, and 4-seam fastball mostly. And I just wonder if working in another fastball can maybe be this missing piece. I feel like we've been saying it for years with Soriano. He has talent. I mean, you could see it. He throws hard and he's got a wicked curveball. It's just he does struggle with control at times, and he's kind of relying on just 2 pitches. But I'm wondering if this 4-seam fastball or maybe even a different pitch, we've seen like the splitter every now and then kind of working in, if that could kind of help get him to the next level. He's 44% rostered. It looks like the next 2 starts are at the Cubs and at the Braves. So I'm not rushing out there to add him for those 2 specific starts, but those are tough matchups. And if he performs there, then I think we're talking about Jose Soriano as like a must-add starting pitcher.
Certainly, if we see him do this again, because he's always been like an elite ground ball pitcher in the running for top ground ball rate. I think he may have had it last year, actually.
I think so, yeah.
And that's fine, but for as hard as he throws, even harder today, but as hard as he's always thrown, not a big bat misser. So seeing the 19 whiffs against an Astros lineup that I'm looking at it now to see if it's different than it doesn't have a lot of high strikeout guys in it normally. So 19 swinging strikes and 8 on the sinker, which, I mean, sinker as a general rule is not a bat missing pitch for anyone. Hasn't been for Soriano particularly either. So I do have some hope that by really emphasizing that 4-seamer, kind of pairing up those 2 different versions of the fastball, it helped create more deception with the sinker and could make him more of a bat misser to go along with those ground ball skills. Don't love seeing the 4 walks. That's always been an issue for Soriano as well. More, this needs to play out a little more before I'm ready to say that, he's any different than he's ever been before. But it is very encouraging, especially given the way that sinker played with the emphasis on the 4-seamer.
I will say, if this game had been played outdoors, he would have given up at least 1 earned run. I don't know if you guys saw Jordan Alvarez hit a ball about a mile.
What's the rule with that? It should have been a home run, no?
I think the ground rule is if it hits a part of the roof, wherever it lands is where it plays. So if it had landed on the field, it would have been presumably a double. But since it landed out of the field, it was a foul ball. I believe that's the rule.
That was a bomb.
yeah, he hit that one.
Yeah.
It was like 109 miles an hour off the bat, and that would have been it would have been at least 1 earner. I can't remember if there were runners on base for it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. The one other thing I wanted to mention with Soriano, Scott, that I thought was encouraging, you mentioned the 4 walks. I agree, don't like seeing that, but threw 66% of his pitches for strikes. That's a pretty healthy number there. So I don't know that completely correlates with the 4 walks that he provided, that he gave out rather, but. I was encouraged by the strike throwing, at least here for Soriano. Mentioned 44% rostered. We're not taking him ahead of any of like the hype pitchers that we've been talking about lately, right? The like Connolly Earlys and Mick Abels and
you haven't even seen
him
pitch
yet. I'm just asking. Some people get crazy.
That would be a overreaction.
I would say if you drafted like Bailey Ober, I'd be fine dropping him for. And I think Bailey Ober is like 60%.
A low-end guy who, instead of us hyping him up, we were talking him down. Yeah. If you drafted Sean Manaea, same thing. If you drafted somebody who's, I don't know how many leagues this would be true in, but if you drafted like a Michael Wacha, who obviously has a limit on his ceiling, could be useful, but has a limit on his ceiling, then maybe you could swap him out for Jose Soriano just to see where this goes.
But nobody that you have real hope for as far as upside, I think.
Yep. I think we're all in agreement there. Let's get into some other opening day overreactions. Paul Skenes, what a waste of a first round pick. My goodness. Couldn't get out of the first inning, and Chase DeLauder just hit his second home run of the game.
Go, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Love
He's the best ever. Paul Skenes is not the best ever. Couldn't get out of the first inning at the Mets. 4 hits, 5 runs allowed, 2 walks, only 1 strikeout. But context is needed.
Let's put the blame where it belongs in this one.
O'Neal Cruz. What in the name of Little League happened in that game? My gosh. 2 back-to-back batted balls to center field. Completely butchered both of them. And I'm watching the game. The broadcast is talking about Paul Skenes. Like, what is wrong with Paul Skenes? Oh, he pitched into WBC. Those are going to be the headlines around the league. I'm like, are we watching the same thing? He just got 4 outs. It's not his fault, dude.
I mean, the broadcast didn't go easy on Cruz when it happened either.
Yeah, no, it was.
Look.
So
Paul
basically,
Skenes was not at his best.
It wasn't great.
Him not getting out of the first inning was not his fault.
No, I mean his average exit velocity, the average exit velocity against him was less than 80 miles per hour. There's 1 hard hit ball against him on the day.
It was the triple, right? I think the triple that O'Neal Cruz probably should have caught.
So the first play, to describe them for those who didn't see it, was a hard hit ball. I don't know if it was officially a hard hit ball. The hard hit ball, Chris, you're saying it was. It was hit pretty well to center. He broke in on it at first, and so then he had to race backward after it, and it was close enough that he probably would have catched it if he just broke the right way initially. I mean, it was that was apparent to everybody watching it. It's not like me with my vast baseball knowledge was able to detect that. And then the other one was, it looked like he just lost it in the sun, which can happen to anyone, but considering it was on consecutive batters, obviously that is the story of the Paul Skenes start, why he had such an ugly line. I'm not saying he was the sharpest, but he deserved a lot better than he got. He obviously would have stayed in longer if those 2 plays hadn't happened, and nothing to worry about with him. I think next start, he's going to be all the more motivated to dominate. I do wonder what it means for O'Neal Cruz. He stayed in the rest of the game. So it's not like his manager yanked him right after that happened, which would have been, I think, excusable if he did.
Yeah.
But I was actually, because obviously this isn't his first time in center field.
He played there all year last year, and he was
terrible defensively.
I think he was really bad early last season. If you remember the storylines early on, he was a disaster like this. And then I think he settled in at okay overall, but it was never good out there, I don't think.
No.
So
and apparently defense was a big focus for him this spring, and they were feeling like he was in a good place. Paul Skenes had him as a center fielder last year and still had a sub-2 ERA. So it's probably the sky probably isn't falling here. But I know you both in particular were of the mind that maybe if this year goes poorly enough for O'Neal Cruz, he could find himself in a part-time role. I still think that's unlikely, but if he plays center field like this, it becomes much more likely.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys see Joel Embiid's tweet at all?
I saw it just a little bit.
I will say,
I should probably tell people what it was. He said, O'Neal Cruz, get ready to learn DH, buddy.
Wow.
It's a great bit. And I love that Joel Embiid is watching baseball in the middle of a day on a Thursday. That delights me. It is one of those things where it's get through one season. I don't want to be that guy, but it is the guy who can't stay on the floor is taking shots. I don't know.
Let's go to the other side of this game. The New York Mets opening day overreaction number 2. The Mets will be the best lineup in baseball this season. That's right. We talked about Carson Bench. Francisco Alvarez had a big game, 2 for 4 with his first homer, 109 exit velocity, 429 feet. Luis Robert, 2 for 4 with 2 RBI, a walk, an incredible at-bat against Paul Skenes. I'll be honest, I have not watched a lot of Luis Robert over the past couple of years, but what we know about him in terms of his plate discipline and how aggressive he typically is, he does not walk much. At least he hasn't in previous years. 10-pitch walk against Skenes, fouled off some close pitches, took some other really tough breaking balls out of the zone as well. It's like, who is this Luis Robert? That was an amazing at-bat by him. And then obviously you have all the studs that are up top, right? Like Lindor and Soto and Bichette. So
they didn't get anything from their number 3 hitter in this one. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts for Bichette. And still,
I don't actually think the Mets will be the best lineup in baseball, but man, I think they could be like one of the 3 best.
They have that kind of upside. Absolutely. I mean, who's their weakest hitter? Marcus Semien, Brett Beatty.
Brett Beatty, yeah.
I mean, on some level, I like them both as sleepers. Carson Bench obviously is unproven, but he has a ton of upside too. Their 9 hitter, Francisco Alvarez, could be a 30 homer catcher,
all-star
if he stays healthy. So there's a lot that could go wrong here too. I mean, Luis Robert injury risk, Jorge Polanco has an extensive injury history.
Now that you mentioned him, Luis Robert might be the worst hitter in this lineup.
Semien obviously showed some signs of decline. I think he's going to bounce back in a stadium better suited for a swing, but obviously no guarantee of that. So, it could go wrong, but I don't think opening day was necessarily a total fake out here. Like, there's definitely a ton of upside for this lineup.
Yeah, if the overreaction was the Mets are going to have a great lineup, my reaction would be the meme where the astronauts are out in space and they're looking at the Earth and it's Ohio and it's like it was Ohio and it always was. I think the Mets were always going to have a good lineup.
They were always Ohio.
They're always Ohio.
That's why my overreaction was that they will be the best. I mean, I guess they could have that upside, but the Dodgers lineup is pretty.
Yeah, I think the one with Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Kyle Tucker is probably going to be the best.
That wasn't the highest scoring lineup last year, though.
They didn't have Kyle Tucker.
They didn't have Trent Grisham, baby. That's what they didn't have. Opening day overreaction number 3. Trevor Rogers is legit, and his ADP was way too low. He's picking up right where he left off. 7 shutout innings, 3 hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts in this one, and a completely new pitch mix. He ditched his sweeper and slider. He used a new cutter and curveball. I believe he was working in some of those in spring training as well, but it looked pretty good. He threw 64% of his pitches for strikes. Granted, good matchup against the Minnesota Twins, but I think all of us collectively, even more so you guys earlier in the offseason, you guys were all in on Trevor Rogers. And it's only 1 start, but he's doing what he did last season.
I mean, the second half of your statement, I wouldn't say it's an overreaction because I was saying it all off season. He's going too late. Is he legit? Legit isn't he's going to repeat a sub 2 ERA from last year. I'd still bet against that. And
I'll go as far as to say no.
Yeah. Okay.
No, he's not going to have a sub 2 ERA.
So what does legit mean? Is he
must start pitcher?
He's a top 30.
I'm leaning yes for
I think so.
Top 30 starting pitcher. Yeah.
For where I was ranking him.
Yeah. I mean, his ADP was around SP 50. So
right.
Yeah. No, I think he was definitely undervalued, and we ranked it that way. I mean, Frank, I'm not sure if you were quite as aggressive, but I had him around 30.
I got him up to like 31.
Yeah.
By the end of draft season. So
he walked 4 in this one. You'd like to see him tighten that up a little bit, but for sure. I mean, 7 innings on opening day is hard to complain about no matter what. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's less. I don't mean to. Probably sounds inconsistent to harp on Misiorowski's walks, harp on Jose Soriano's walks, and then dismiss Trevor Rogers. Well, doesn't have the same history there, Pitchers are different.
Yeah,
They have
Misiorowski
different
had-
history. You have different. They have different strengths and weaknesses. If somebody does something out of character in a start, then it's probably just not something you need to worry about. But if it's very much in character, then okay, kind of worry about it.
Next opening day overreaction. This one's for Chris. James Wood is in big trouble. 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. Let me remind you that in the second half of last season, a 39% strikeout rate for James Wood.
And he had a 34% strikeout rate this spring, I believe, and hit like 103. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swinging strikes on, like not that many swings.
Yeah, 35% K rate in 16 spring games for James Wood.
Yeah, it's too early to say anything definitive. It is literally too early to say anything definitive, except that Chase DeLauder is going to be the rookie of the year. But look, we wanted to see something from James Wood, and we saw nothing in this game, and we saw nothing from him this spring. And outside of, I think, the last 6 games of the year where he hit 5 home runs to sort of salvage his second half, we saw nothing from him July 1st on. So, or July 20th on. So, yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable to be worried, especially on a day when basically everyone else in the Nationals lineup did well. You know, they scored 10 runs they scored 6 runs off Matthew Boyd and then 2 more off Ben Brown. That was to see James Wood do nothing and actually, have 4 strikeouts, actively have a very bad game. It's too early to say anything definitive, but it's worrisome for sure. Mm-hmm. And yeah,
we all added James Wood to Bus 2.0, didn't we?
Yeah, he was on my 1.0, but yeah.
I didn't have him in Bus 1.0 or 2.0, but he was always a player that it was just hard for me to press draft on him.
Yeah, I didn't draft any of them.
Yeah,
and I drafted a lot of Pete Crow Armstrong, who I always pair those two because they looked like first rounders in the first half and then collapsed in the second half. But I think the inflated runaway strikeout rate for James Wood was the clearest red flag for the two of them.
So here's a question. Is there some demotion risk here?
Of course.
We just saw the highly touted former top prospect playing center field for them get sent down. Do we think, how safe do you think James Wood is?
Oh, I mean, look, the Nationals can't afford to mess up that investment.
Yeah.
And they're obviously not
front office.
They're obviously not playing for anything this year. So they have to make sure James Wood gets right. If his swing is messed up or if the book's out on him and he just needs to see more pitches in a lower pressure environment to kind of learn to close that hole in his swing. Yeah, I think that's very possible. I know people are highly invested in him, so I don't want to send them into a panic yet.
No, at all.
I'm not saying
it's one game
likely, but it's definitely in the realm of possibility.
Last one that I have here, Andrew Abbott's spring was nothing to worry about. Let me remind you, he had a 11.72 ERA, a 2.04 WHIP, 23 earned runs over 7 2/3 innings with 6 home runs allowed this spring, and then goes out on opening day against the Red Sox, a formidable lineup. 6 shutout innings, 7 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Didn't get many whiffs in this one, but threw a ton of strikes, 71% strike rate in this one. And it was a really encouraging start. So,
yeah, to quote our guy Proservius in the chat, nobody's spring has ever been something to worry about. I don't think that's entirely true. No. Carlos Estevez velocity being down 5 miles an hour, that's fine to worry about. But Abbott, look, Cincinnati's a really tough place to pitch, right? We know that. It's a small ballpark. The dimensions are very hitter friendly. And he has survived there as an extreme fly ball pitcher, one of the most extreme fly ball pitchers in baseball, I believe, because he induces a lot of weak fly balls and a lot of 370-foot fly balls, right? And so most of the time, those are not going to go out. Arizona is a much tougher place to pitch when we're talking about, especially outside of Chase Field, when we're talking about those spring training ballparks that are an elevation and warm, dry air. Like, the ball just flies. And we saw, 9 Reds players had an OPS over 1,000 this spring, I think was the stat. I'm not shocked that Andrew Abbott struggled in Cactus League play. But it doesn't change how I view him. And now nobody thinks Andrew Abbott is a superstar or an ace or anything, but he has been a very productive pitcher for 3 straight years now, despite, at least the more traditional peripherals not really buying it. But this is a case where if you look at the xERA, he wasn't as good as his 2.87 ERA last year, but he's been below 4 each of his first 3 seasons in the majors. Last year was 3.56. So he's a funky pitcher. He's weird, Andrew Abbott. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. Last year was right around average. The control was much better last season, but he generates a lot of weak contact. And so it's not a pitcher you ever get excited about during draft season because Andrew Abbott's never going to win you your league. And that's what we're looking for when we're talking about those pitchers in like the 60 to 70 to 80 range of the position is who might be able to break out, get 200 strikeouts. Andrew Abbott's never going to strike out 200. But I think he was just undervalued all spring. Yeah. Because he's a rock solid guy to have on your team.
He's a good deep league pitcher, one that can give you an easy profit, or what I think could be an easy profit. Maybe he doesn't turn out to be like a top 24 starting pitcher, but if he's the SP 60 drafted and he performs like a top 40 starting pitcher, that's still a pretty big win for him. So, and that might happen again. I mean, he's kind of just like a blind spot for me. I feel like he's a blind spot for a lot of people. You're right. I never got excited. I never drafted Andrew Abbott, but he was really serviceable last season. My last overreaction here, the ABS was really cool. I don't know if everyone agrees, but it was really interesting to see when and how it was used. There were every team was very different, specific, particular about when they were going to use ABS and who was allowed to use it. Roman Anthony had a full count strikeout that was reversed to a walk on a challenge, which was just really cool from a hitter as young as Roman Anthony, but obviously he has really good control of the strike zone. But I don't know if you guys have any quick thoughts on the ABS, but it was pretty cool.
I will say my wife did roast me when we were watching the first game between the Yankees and Giants because there was one where I was like tapping the top of my head, like, "Come on, challenge it!"
Were you rubbing your belly while you were doing that?
Yeah.
I think I yelled at the TV like, "Tap your helmet." My wife was
no, it's gonna be me. I think I'm going to Yankees home opener next week when the Marlins are in town. I'm just gonna be tapping my head the whole game after every pitch.
Angry, red-faced, overly emotional baseball watcher is going to give himself a concussion doing that gesture.
That is an unintended consequence I hadn't considered. But yes. Man, I'm starting to feel a little sore.
Yes.
Don't go to
I love the challenge system. I mean, to me, it doesn't feel like a new thing because we've seen it. So many iterations of it already. Obviously, in more in trial runs or in the minor leagues, but I was sold on it already, and it will be now that it's more widespread. I don't think I watched as much baseball as you today, Frank, that I could compare how one team used it versus another. But that will be interesting to see, and because now one thing I'm a little fuzzy about. If they're successful on a challenge, they just keep that challenge, right? So they could challenge indefinitely as long as they're right.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And if you lose both of your challenges in regulation, you still gain one in extra innings. So you would get one back if you lost both of them within 9 innings.
What I like about it is it because I know some people are like, oh, why not just go full ABS if you have the technology, get them all right? Well, I mean, obviously baseball is a game of tradition and umpires are a very fun part of it. And I like that they make the challenge system makes kind of a game of it. It creates an added tension that wouldn't exist if every pitch was just called that way. and you'd be losing the umpire element, which is a very fun and just something through all of baseball history, umpires have been a big part of the game, obviously. So I like that, the tension of seeing it on the big screen. I like that it's very quick and breezy, and that it doesn't overtake or slow down the game. I think it's the perfect way to do it, and I hope it's embraced widely so that we keep it and we keep the umpires.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take our final break. When we return, I don't know, the news and notes 45 minutes in. We'll talk about that right after this.
You think you understand how this business works, but you don't.
I now know why Monty was so stressed.
What's the plan here?
Landman. New season now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today, reacting to opening day. And let's run through the news and notes. Mentioned earlier, we woke up, bad news. Jackson Chourio has a fractured hand. He will miss 2 to 4 weeks, hoping to return sometime in April. Again, we did a podcast about that, so check it out. Jake Bauers was his fill-in here, and he went 2 for 5 with a home run and 3 RBI. The home run, 108.6 exit velocity, so very deep league outfield replacement. Probably will play against right-handed pitching in the meantime, I would imagine, for Bauers there. Tanner Bibee, this is one we have to watch out about. He left with a trainer as he was warming up for the 6th inning.
I think I saw it was cramping.
Turns
leg
out
cramping.
It is right shoulder inflammation.
Oh, okay. No, I was given some false information on social media then. Okay.
That is not good for Tanner.
One of the last things you want to hear.
Yeah. Before he left the game, 5 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, 3 homers allowed, but was doing some interesting things. Changed up the pitch mix from last year. It was mostly fastball, changeup, cutter, and he had 15 swinging strikes on 78 pitches. So some good, some bad. The home runs obviously bad, but the whiffs look pretty good there. But now this injury on top of everything, something to watch. Look, shoulder is not good for any pitcher, obviously. Nico Horner and the Cubs are in agreement on a 6-year extension. I haven't seen any figures on this. Have you guys seen anything? Nico Horner? Nothing.
I haven't. What would you think? 100 million?
Yeah.
I think he's got like 2 years of club control left, probably.
Yeah, I mean, he's a better real-life player than...
Oh, yeah, he's a 4-win player 4 years in a row, I think.
Big defender, yeah. So it might even be more than 100 million, honestly. But we'll see. Zach Wheeler scheduled to throw 3 innings and or 50 pitches in Saturday's rehab start at AAA. Josh Hader will begin facing hitters by mid-April. He's working his way back from bicep inflammation. Paul Sewald is likely to get the first save chance for the D-backs. So if you play in a deeper league with saves, he's a name to look at there. Updates on Blue Jays pitchers. Trey Savage's velocity was up during a very effective appearance in a minor league game on Wednesday. Very effective was the, I believe, the quote from the GM there, not mine. I wasn't there to watch it. Shane Bieber and Jose Barrios will both throw off a mound this week. Jackson Holliday set to begin a rehab assignment Friday at AAA. Twins manager Derek Shelton is still undecided on a closer. He said, quote, "It's going to be a little bit of a meritocracy. Guys are going to pitch themselves in or out of certain roles. We have to monitor that as the season starts." But I believe the 3 that we've been speculating on were the 3 that were mentioned. It was Cole Sands, Taylor Rogers, and Justin Topa. Although Topa had a terrible spring. Pavin Smith was scratched from the lineup Thursday due to left elbow soreness. He also dealt with left forearm soreness earlier in spring training. So something to watch there with Pavin Smith. I did have some lineup stuff that I wanted to quickly mention here as well. David Hamilton started at third base for the Brewers against a right-handed pitcher, Shane Smith. It was not Luis Rengifo in the lineup. Thought that was notable. The Nationals against...
Had a big game, too.
Yep.
Hamilton.
I have him as a deep league waiver target. We'll talk about a little bit later on. Nats versus a lefty. James Wood led off even against the lefty. Andres Chaparro was at first base batting second. Dalen Lyle, despite a lefty, was the DH batting fourth. Joey Wiemer in right field batting fifth. He hit a big home run. CJ Abrams dropped down to sixth in the lineup against a left-handed pitcher. For the Cubs, they were facing a righty today. Matt Shaw was in right field, filling in for Seiya Suzuki. Moises Ballesteros did get the start at DH against a right-handed pitcher. For the Astros against a righty, Isak Paredes was in the lineup at third base batting third. Correa at shortstop batting fourth. No Jeremy Pena in this one. Sounds like they are bringing him along slowly.
Yeah, he was playing in a minor league game, I think, was what I saw. He was actually at their spring training facility. Or no, in Sugarland. I think he was with the Skeeters.
So they just played a man down today.
Yeah,
he
they
didn't
just
go on the IL, right?
They played 25, so maybe he's not going to play this weekend. I don't know what the plan is, but he was not with the team on opening day from what I saw, or at least early on in the day.
I know he hasn't played much since coming back from that injury. He only played that one exhibition game, but he homered in that game, so I just kind of thought he would be ready to go, but maybe not. The Padres against a lefty today. They had Miguel Andujar at DH batting fifth. Gavin Sheets still in the lineup, lefty on lefty, batting sixth. No Nick Castellanos. We'll see if that remains to be the case.
Against a lefty.
I don't know. If he doesn't play against a lefty, when is he going to play? I don't
Xander
know.
Bogaerts had 4 batted balls over 100 miles per hour in that game, I believe.
Huh, pretty good.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay against a lefty. Jonathan Aranda and Cedric Mullins were the only lefties in there. Aranda actually homered off of lefty Matthew Liberatore in this one.
Yeah, he did.
He had 4 hard hits in this game. The home run was over 400 feet, so good for Jonathan Aranda. And the Rangers against the lefty.
Chandler Simpson, not in, by the way.
Not in, yes. Definitely worth mentioning that. The Rangers against the lefty. Andrew McCutchen was at DH batting fifth. Sam Haggerty was in left field batting ninth, so no Evan Carter in the lineup. And then for the Dodgers, Miguel Rojas started at second base, batting ninth. That was against the righty. No Alex Freeland in the lineup for the Dodgers. We are learning about bullpens. Do any of these matter? The Angels. Drew Pomeranz pitched in the 8th inning, and Jordan Romano got the 9th. He allowed a walk, but he picked up the save. Just a reminder, his ERA last year was 8.23. His whip was 1.45, but they need someone to close out games, and he's only 8% rostered. So,
and his velocity was down even more from last year. Not that it was a huge drop last year, but it dropped a little and dropped a little more, just like this spring. That being said, he's probably the Angels' closer until he's not.
Among the situations we're going to talk about today, this is the one that comes closest to mattering. If you have been desperate for saves, I do think Jordan Romano should be someone you're looking to pick up.
Not a high degree of confidence that he deserves to be a closer and can remain a closer, but a high degree of confidence, a fairly high degree of confidence that he is the closer right now.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. So 12-team roto leagues or deeper probably should be added.
Yeah. Yeah. Anywhere Kirby Yates was rostered, then Romano should be rostered. Yeah. And let's remember, it doesn't sound like a long-term thing for Yates. So I don't know that Romano necessarily even has to blow it to be out of a job eventually, but I think right now he is the guy.
But if he picks up 3 to 5 saves and just looks fine while Yates is out, he'll probably just hold on to it.
The more solid he looks, the more likely he is to keep it. Sure.
For the Cardinals, Matt Swanson came on for the 6th inning in this game with the game tied. He was charged with 3 runs on 3 hits. Jojo Romero started the 7th with a 2-run lead. That was a crazy game, by the way. It was tied 1-1 going into the 6th. The Rays scored 6 runs. Then the Cardinals in the bottom of that inning scored 8. It was just like a wild game back and forth. Jojo Romero started the 7th inning with a 2-run lead. He recorded 2 outs. It was Riley O'Brien who came on, got the next 4 outs. And then that left Ryan Stanek for the 9th inning. He walked 3, did wiggle out of it for his first save, but man, his previous 2 years combined before this, Ryan Stanek, 5.09 ERA, 1.45 whip. I kind of think Riley O'Brien is just like their highest leverage reliever.
Yeah, that's the impression I got. The biggest takeaway from this is it's just a mess. That's the biggest takeaway. The secondary takeaway isn't even, Ryan Stanek. It's, Matt Swanson. I don't know that you're going to be as prominent part of the closer mix as people were presuming by the end. By the end, he was the highest drafted Cardinals reliever. And he may still be the best. He may still factor. But based on what we saw here, I think the one I'd want to roster most is Riley O'Brien.
Yeah, I mean, you come in the 6th inning and give up 3 runs, you're probably not getting the next save. I feel pretty confident in that, at least. Yeah, it's not a guarantee, but I agree. Riley O'Brien would be the one if there was one, yeah.
anything to make of this for the Nationals? Clayton Beeter was using the 8th inning with a 4-run lead at the time. He was facing 6, 7, 8 in the Cubs lineup. He walked 2, struck out 1. The Nationals tacked on 2 more runs, so it's now a 6-run lead going into the 9th, and lefty Cionel Perez got the 9th inning. He faced the heart of the Cubs lineup. He struck out 2, closed out the game. But it was, nearly a save situation, and Beeter was using the 8th, and then Perez in the 9th. Any thoughts there with the Nationals?
I mean, Beeter was a long shot. I still think he's probably the best shot, even though he came in the 8th instead of the 9th. But that could change quickly. I mean, it's if you're in a league where every save source is rostered and they're hard to find on the waiver wire, I think you just hold on Beeter right now. But it remains a long shot.
Mm-hmm. And then the last situation for the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays are going to raise. Garrett Clevenger on in the 6th inning with a 2-run lead, runner on first. He gave up back-to-back singles, then a sacrifice fly. He was relieved by Griffin Jax again in the 6th inning. We thought he might be the closer, he still could lead the team in saves, but it's just kind of weird usage. And then that was a 1-run lead, runners on first and third. He allowed a sac fly and then a 2-run homer again in the 6th inning. You could argue that was the biggest spot in the game, and so they just felt that they needed to use Griffin Jax there. But it was still kind of weird to see him used in the 6th inning.
I don't think he's the closer. I don't think they have the closer. So I think it's going to be a lot of this. It's going to be a lot of mixing and matching and playing matchups and using Griffin Jax. He's probably their highest leverage reliever, and so that should make him the primary closer. But I don't think it's ever going to be a situation where Griffin Jax is getting 80% of the save opportunities here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's probably fair. I wouldn't drop Griffin Jax. I know some people were freaking out telling me that I'm just going to drop Griffin Jax. I would not do that. I would still hold on to him. Would have been interesting to see how it turned out if they held on to the lead. Would it have been like Brian Baker in the 9th inning or something like that. So we'll see. Next save opportunity for the Rays. Let's talk about a few waiver wire hitters here. 2 names if you need specific categories. And waiver wire hitter this early in the season, it's if you're chasing power, if you need speed. But 2 for power. Jake Berger, 3 hits, homer, 438 feet. He was limited by injuries last year, but had a combined 63 home runs over 2023 and 2024. And then Dominic Canzone. Scott, you gave out Canzone as a sleeper. Double dong here on opening day, 24% rostered. I think if you specifically need power, both are totally fine to target, Jake Berger and Dominic Canzone.
Yeah, Berger, it's worth noting, the injury he played through specifically, or at least the one he ended up having surgery on after the season, was I want to say it was a wrist tendon or something.
Wrist tendon sheath or something?
Wrist tendon sheath, yeah. I was trying to think if that was the right phrase, but yeah, I think that's what it was. And so, obviously, wrists are pretty important for hitting the ball hard. So, it is possible that Jake Berger goes back to being an all or nothing power hitter as opposed to what he was last season, which was a nothing hitter. So, he was a very useful player from 2024 to 2020 or 2023 to 2024. I think he was a little overrated. But look, 30 bombs is 30 bombs, and he's capable of that. So it's worth keeping an eye on for sure if you need a corner infielder.
Now, Canzone, I think, is better than Berger. But since I don't know how much he's going to play. I think he's going to play against all the righties. How many of the lefties he plays against will determine how useful he is in fantasy. I don't see much need to add him outside of 5 outfielder leagues if he's available in yours. But he is very good. Just look at the numbers he put up during the majors last year. Look at the exit velocity readings. In this game, 4 batted balls over 100 miles per hour. The 2 home runs were 108 and 109. He killed him. And he does that often. So if we had assurances from the Mariners he was an everyday player, I think Canzone would have been on everybody's sleeper list. But that remains the concern, even though he had a big game against a righty starter.
If you need speed in a 5 outfielder league or even a 3 outfielder head-to-head categories league, Victor Scott he is incredibly fast. I don't know if he's a good hitter. He's probably not, but he had 3 hits here on opening day, and he had 2 steals, 34 steals last year. Back in 2023 in the minors, he had 94 steals while batting .303. Any chance, Chris, that maybe this could be the year that Victor Scott breaks out? I think we were hoping for it like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough bat here. Like he's a 20 to 22% strikeout rate guy without any power whatsoever. It's really hard to make that profile work. Now he's 25, I think, so it's not impossible that there's room for growth, but I think you basically only look at him for stolen bases. But if you need stolen bases, he'll give you that for sure.
Yep. I think Dylan Dingler, still just a name for 2 catcher leagues, but he had a great game here. 2 for 5 with his first home run. He had 4 hard hit balls. The homer, 106 exit velocity, 403 feet. And last year, while the numbers didn't really jump off the page, his expected stats were really good. 290 XBA, 475 X slug there for Dylan Dingler, who once upon a time had some prospect status, and he's 27% rostered. So he's probably not out there in 2 catcher leagues. I think that's probably all. Those are the leagues where he needs to be rostered for now. Some deep league names here. Chase Mydroff blasted a home run off of Jacob Misiorowski. 107.7 exit velocity is his new max EV in the majors. Brady House, 2 for 5 with a homer, 110.8 exit velocity, and that's coming off a big spring for him. Rhys Hoskins reached base 4 times here in the night game, 3 hits, including a double, 112.3 exit velocity off Logan Gilbert. So maybe he's not dead yet. Rhys Hoskins.
I mean, he was on like a 25 homer pace last season.
Yeah, it was just injuries.
Yeah, so I when I wrote my waiver wire column for week 1, he was on there as a deep league target for first base. It was good to see him and Kyle Manzardo in the lineup together, because I think there was, I think when they first signed him, I think the concern was that's going to be a platoon, but I think they just need both Kyle Manzardo and Rhys Hoskins in the lineup as often as possible, because honestly, those might be their 3rd and 4th best hitters.
Yep. Scott, I think it's mostly just 15 teamers for now, but Chase Mydroff and Brady House, they were 2 prospects of note as well, and they have full-time opportunities ahead of them here.
Yeah, I had Brady House when we did our Deep Sleepers episode. He was somebody I pointed out for the big spring he was having, and he definitely has power. He didn't show much of it, just seemed a bit overmatched in his first taste of the majors last year. But he had a very up and down minor league career too. And he was first drafted. It was a big year for shortstops, hyped up his power potential. Rough start in the minors, then came back, had a great year, moved back up in the prospect rankings, then followed it up with a bad year. It was a lot of that for House. So I think he may just be one of those players that needs some adjustment period, sort of like Michael Busch. Michael Busch, not as extreme as House, but his minor league career followed a similar trajectory, and it took him a while to find his footing in the majors. Clearly, he's very good now. Could happen with House too. There is, I think, more downside risk than Busch because the plate discipline's on opposite planets, but he's going to play a lot House at a weak position, and the power is legit.
3 names in even deeper leagues. So we're talking NL only or just scouting these names in 15-team mix for now. David Hamilton, 1 for 2 with 2 walks, 2 runs, and a stolen base here. Again, started at third base for the Brewers against the right-handed pitcher, and he will gain third base eligibility. Nathan Church, Scott mentioned the name earlier, 3 for 4 with 2 RBI. Big season in the minors last year. And Joey Weimer, once upon a time a prospect as well, 3 for 3 with a walk, 2 runs, and a hard hit homer, 110.5 exit velocity. Scott, do you have any thoughts? I know you mentioned Nathan Church earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of joking because he is a rookie and he had a big game. And he did have a good year in the minors last year. It was mostly built around batting average, and you have to be pretty skeptical of that. He's only part of the Cardinals lineup because Lars Nootbaar is out. I don't know that they view him as an everyday player long term. So we'll save Nathan Church for the deeper leagues. And who was the first one you mentioned?
I had David Hamilton and Joey Weimer.
David Hamilton. Well. Yeah, I mean, these are obviously just deep league choices. Church might be the most interesting of the three. Though I did like David Hamilton going into last year. You may recall when I thought he was going to be the Red Sox starter at second base. A lot of steals potential there. And he showed it here on opening day. It's encouraging that he was in the lineup against a righty because more righties pitch than lefties. But I still don't know that the playing time is going to be enough for him to matter in even like 12-team roto leagues.
I agree.
Old faces in new places. Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn. Welcome to the Pirates. Brandon Lau, 2 for 4 with a double dong. 2 homers, 3 RBI. Ryan O'Hearn, 2 for 4 with his first homer. Brendan Donovan, leadoff homer with the Mariners. He had 2 hits in that game. Freddie Peralta's debut with the Mets here. Not great. 5 innings, 4 runs allowed, 7 strikeouts, 0 walks, 2 homers allowed. Both to Brandon Lau.
Yeah, he was awesome 8 out of 9 times.
Yeah, to everybody except for Brandon Lau.
Yeah, and against 92% of the pitchers he faced, he was great.
14 whiffs on 80 pitches. He gave up 2 homers, but I thought everything under the hood looked good there for Freddie Peralta. Chris, any other thoughts on the old faces in new places?
No, I think we're going to have another year where Brandon Lau was just wildly underrated in drafts, and I don't really get what people don't like about him. It's just injuries, but he had a huge year last year, and he basically didn't move up in ADP. It was wild.
Yeah. Pitching clunkers, but I didn't see anything wrong under the hood for this group. Matthew Boyd, Nick Pivetta, Nathan Eovaldi, Shane Smith, all pretty rough starts here on opening day. Matthew Boyd, actually, velocity was up, and he got a ton of whiffs here. Did you guys see anything that actually concerned you with any of these, or it's just bad start, sweep it under the rug?
Well, I'm a little concerned about Shane Smith because he basically showed nothing this spring. I liked him going in. I liked what he did in the second half. But it was a rough spring, and then he follows it up with a rough debut here. Less than... Like Paul Skenes, average exit velocity against was less than 80 miles per hour. So it wasn't getting hit hard out there. But the characteristics on some of the pitches was different. Like the changeup was up in velocity, which you don't necessarily want a changeup to go up in velocity. There are reasons why you might. But it seemed like he got to a good place. That was part of him thriving in the second half was what he was doing with the changeup. So, he's obviously not a well-vetted, proven asset, Shane Smith. I'm not saying I'm dropping him after this start or anything, but he might be, I would say he's definitely on the thinnest ice of these pitchers.
I mean, he's 87% rostered. There's got to be some pitchers who are lower rostered who are more interesting than Shane Smith.
Mike Burrows is 57%, I think, or?
Yeah, that...
I will say, give him the next start at Miami.
I do think Shane Smith is really interesting. Don't get me wrong. So I don't know that I'd go as far as to say there's got to be pitchers who are more interesting. But Mike Burrows is more interesting. I have more faith in him delivering on his upside than I do Smith.
I do think I want to mention Nick Pivetta just because he had the arm thing during spring training. He was a bust for me anyway coming into the season. Long before that, his ERA was the lowest of his career, but his peripherals were actually worse than the previous years last year. So it's not great to see him struggle in his first start. I'm not saying that I'm giving up on Nick Pivetta or that anybody should, but it's certainly not what I wanted to see from him.
Got a lot of whiffs, low exit velocity against.
It was mostly just one bad inning where he couldn't find the strike zone.
Right. It just
3 walks in the first inning is not really like him.
Right. So unless it's connected to some health issue, that one he had in spring training, I wouldn't make much of it. But obviously there is bust potential here for Pivetta.
We had a bunch of aces just being aces. Tarek Skubal, Garrett Crochet, Christopher Sanchez, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Joe Ryan. They all had great starts here on opening day. Chris, anything that stood out to you for these aces that you feel is noteworthy?
No, these are all dog bites man stories. I don't think there's anything really to say. I just will point out Garrett Crochet's velocity was weird in spring training. He had just like an uncomfortable, weird spring. He was very frustrated. by it, but he looked like himself. So zero concerns whatsoever about Garrett Crochet moving forward. And then, we didn't see a lot of Joe Ryan this spring. I think he only made 2 starts because of that back injury. So it was good to see him just looking like himself. He threw his curveball a little more. He barely threw that pitch last year. He threw it 16% of the time. He got 4 whiffs on it. That was good to see. But no, this is what you expected from all of these guys. So, just with Ryan and Crochet, it was just good to see.
I have pitching somewhere in betweeners. They weren't great. They weren't bad. They were just kind of meh. Hunter Brown had 9 strikeouts, but also 4 walks. Only lasted 4 2/3 innings in that game. Logan Gilbert, 5 1/3 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts. Used a new cutter 18 times. That's kind of interesting. Matthew Liberatore coming off a pretty big spring. He was okay. 5 innings, 1 run, 2 strikeouts there. Drew Rasmussen, 5 innings, 1 run, 2 strikeouts for him. And in classic Kevin Cash fashion, he pulled Rasmussen after 73 pitches, and the Rays instantly blew the game. So
this is never not going to be the case.
I know.
There's just Rasmussen like if you drafted Drew Rasmussen and you're mad that he got pulled after 5 innings, you don't know who you were drafting, because that's
you don't know ball.
That is always how they are going to use Drew Rasmussen. It's just it's never going to change.
Cade Cavalli's final line was not great, but he had a new curveball, and some of the aspects of his game look kind of good. Zach Gallen, not great against the Dodgers. I mean, it's the Dodgers, but his velocity was up. So, Scott, anything to add on the in-betweeners? Gallen, Cavalli, Rasmussen, Liberatore, Gilbert, and Hunter Brown.
I already get the sense that Liberatore, all the whiffs he was racking up this spring, was a spring fake out. I had that inkling already, so it's a biased opinion. But it did not continue here in this one start, and I didn't see much explanation for it this spring.
His fastball has a slightly different shape. He's getting more cut on the 4-seamer. That I don't think that was a good enough explanation for why he was pitching better, though. I don't think he's particularly good.
And this was a revenge game against the Rays. Let's not forget. So I would be, if I threw a late pick at Liberatore because of the big spring, and Jose Soriano was out there, that might be one.
That's my next question.
That might be one I'd think about.
Yeah, I think
not automatic, but
I think I'd make that swap.
The shallower the league, the more likely I'd be to do it.
I think Liberatore is exactly the kind of player you can drop for anyone moderately interesting.
Yeah, sure. Some hitting leftovers here. Roman Anthony led off against the lefty, and he performed well. 3 for 4 with a walk and a run scored. One of the singles was 112.3 miles per hour. Another was 110.2. So, man, already flashing those high-end exit velocities for Roman Anthony. Andy Pajes, we were all wrong. 2 for 4 with a homer. 3 RBI, 400-foot homer for him. Geraldo Perdomo, I was wrong.
We were right.
Homered off of Yamamoto, 2 for 4 with a home run there. 398 feet on that one for Perdomo. Sal Frelick had a big game, 1 for 3 with a home run and 2 walks. And
I was wrong. I was not really a Sal Frelick guy. So big L for me. I got my face.
I like Sal Frelick as kind of a wait 30 picks after Steven Kwan goes and just draft Steven Kwan type of guy. And, getting batting average that late in the draft, it was, it felt like I always kind of needed that at that point. We already talked about Yordan Alvarez. Call to the bullpen. We talked about a lot of these already, but just closers getting saves that we expected. The first save of 2026, by the way, went to Ryan Helsley. So congrats to him. He actually looked really good. For the Red Sox, Aroldis Chapman picked up a save. Velocity was down, so let's watch that for him. Yohan Duran came on and got the final 2 outs for his first save. And then Cade Smith closed out this night game, picked up his first save of the season. And with that, we have to wrap up with Scott's favorite. To stream or not to stream, it's never too early, Scott. The people want their streamers.
You better not be streaming yet.
Under 75% rostered on CBS. Honestly, Scott, you could just choose a lot of the names you brought up as like sleepers for week 1.
Yeah.
You go that route. On Friday, there's actually not many games on Friday, but I think Mike Burrows against the Angels is the most interesting by far.
By far.
Yeah, he should not be as available as he is on CBS leagues.
Yep. On Saturday, I circled 4 names here. Will Warren at the Giants, David Peterson against the Pirates, Christian Javier against the Angels, and Chad Patrick against the White Sox. I think they're all solid.
Yeah.
I have this sinking feeling that Reynaldo Lopez is going to like throw 89 miles per hour and be effective for a couple starts, and it's going to be really headache inducing. But I would not actually want to stream him.
Who is that?
Reynaldo
Lopez. He faces the Royals on Saturday. Yeah.
I would rank these Will Warren, Chad Patrick, David Peterson, and Christian Javier.
I think it's the right order.
Okay.
If you want a real wild card for Saturday, Joe Boyle against the Cardinals.
Emphasis on wild.
Yeah.
It's big time. And then on Sunday, we have Grant Holmes going up against the Royals, Max Meyer against the Rockies in Miami, Brandon Sproat against the White Sox. Steven Matz and Dustin May are facing each other. Slade Ciccone at the Mariners. Did some interesting things this spring, and I know Nick Pollock likes him, so always following Nick's advice for pitching. And then Eric Lauer against the Athletics. Who are your 3 favorites for Sunday?
I go Meyer versus the Rockies, Holmes versus the Royals, and probably May versus the Rays, although I did start Steven Matz in one league as a Sparp.
I like Sproat. I like Meyer, Holmes, and
Sproat. That's a good call. I overlooked him. Sproat, yeah.
Holmes, I think, is my favorite of the 3, but Meyer and Sproat are makes sense given the matchups.
All right, opening day is in the books. We are going to wrap there. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.